The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Doc Mark and Chorus, the little mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. Here we are, Chorus, episode 47, getting closer and closer to the big 50. And we're hoping to hear from everyone out there, particularly maybe the people we don't hear from as often, to celebrate the big 50. And speaking of big deals, Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine is back in publication. It's going to come out 4 times a year. Very exciting. The magazine I grew up with as a child. The usual gang is all here this week. Horror Chat, Scary Larry, Grim Kim. But first up, Anaphylactic sent in a pic of her horror swag. Chorus, take a look at this.
Oh, me like. I have a question to ask Grim Kim. She's always talking about her dog, Brownie. But we never see a picture of Brownie. I'd like to see a picture. And Grim, is Brownie a corpse-sniffing dog?
I'm willing to bet, Chorus, that Brownie is domestic. But here we go with Grim Facts.
Grim Facts.
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, little Chorus. I'm sorry I say your name wrong every single week. And you still like me, little Chorus. Thank you so much. I don't have a lot to say, and it's like even I get sick of hearing my own voice. But thank you so much for the classic movie recommendation, Mark. I'm going to pop it on in a little bit. I'm so excited, and I wouldn't mind that being a regular thing, is Turner Classic Movie favorite haunted house or classic movie in the genre, because that's my jam. Love it. I'm just going to drop you a picture of my Medusa sweatshirt that I mentioned, and I'm so pleased to have it. And thank you so much for my request for you to rank Scream. And I made note of it because I'm interested. I haven't seen any of them in such a long time, and I'll be curious to see how I feel about your ranking too. All right. I hope everyone has a great week. I'm starting to feel better. And happy vernal equinox. Talk to you later. Bye.
Grim Kim, turning men to stone since 1969. I didn't think she was saying my name wrong. I just thought she had a special way of saying it.
Grim, you are a true addition to the show. Don't ever feel like you call too much. Horrible mention. That's right, kids. You know what it means when you hear that putrid piece of music. It's time for horrible mention. And this week, no different. It's basically Vomit Amongst the Stars with Frogs from 1972. Somehow they tricked Ray Milland into being in this piece of garbage. This makes Food of the Gods from 1976 look like Casablanca. Milland plays Jason Crockett, a guy who just doesn't care about the environment. And Sam Elliott plays a photographer. They've got that guy in this movie too, and he's a great actor. Anyway, there's all kinds of spraying and treating the environment bad, and the animals are going to get everyone back, mostly the frogs. And there's a big 4th of July celebration that they should cancel because the local animals are acting weird, but of course Ray Milland doesn't want to do that. He's like the mayor in Jaws. You know how this goes. Ray Milland is having his gardener use poison to get rid of all the reptiles on the island, and the reptiles don't like that, so they're back for revenge. And all the frogs make Ray Milland have a heart attack, and what an awful movie. Anyway, the saving grace is the 500 frogs that they bought for the production of this film, more than half of them escaped during production, and probably because they didn't want anything to do with this putrid piece of trash.
Hey, Doc Mark and Little Karis, Howard Chat Matt here. And after you had ranked the Scream movies in your latest episode, a lot of Scream news has broken in the last couple of days. The big news, obviously, is that Sydney is back, Neve Campbell is returning, and not only is she coming back, but Kevin Williamson is coming back as director. You didn't need a crystal ball to see this one coming a mile away, after they had let go of Melissa Barrera for some comments that she had made online, I guess, and then Jenna Ortega leaving the project shortly thereafter. I think this is really the only way you can recover the franchise if you want to pump one out as quickly as they seem to want to after the success of the last movie. A bit disappointing we won't get to see the Carpenter sister story continue, but I'm always happy for some more Neve Campbell, as I kind of didn't like the throwaway line from the last movie for her character. I'd prefer a much more definitive ending. Not saying it has to be her being killed, but just, a proper end to her storyline instead of a throwaway line. Speaking of Dark Harvest, that Scary Larry and Grim Kim both brought up, I haven't had a chance to catch the movie as I wasn't aware it was out yet. But I did on a whim pick up the novel about, I think it was 5 years ago. I just saw it was a pretty cool cover at Barnes & Noble's. It was on the half-off selection. So I just picked it up, and it was a fun little story, and I could definitely see this being a decent little flick, and I can't wait to check it out. And last but not least, Dark Mark, my condolences for your Aunt Rose. Sounded like she was a wonderful lady and a big part of your family and life. Once again, my condolences. And can't wait to see next week's episode.
As always, Hard Chat, thank you. And thank you for the condolences. Much appreciated. Deep Death Dive. Today's Deep Death Dive, I want to discuss a little bit about the movie Barbarian. Now, the best way to see this movie is to know nothing at all. And if you have not seen it yet, you may want to skip ahead. I don't want to be that guy that ruins it for you. Now, what I'd specifically like to talk about on Deep Death Dive is how certain horror movies evoke certain feelings. But what I love about this particular film is, one, you have this woman in the beginning of the film that ends up, there's the confusion of the already rented Airbnb, and she's put in this situation where this character does all the right things. She sees all the red flags. And when she gets in a situation and she's descending into this house and going down the creepy stairs and discovering secret rooms, and a room that could, for all intents purposes is probably some kind of warped torture porn room, she's completely and utterly afraid. And we're afraid for her. We're not knowing what's going to happen next. We, as the audience, who are afraid for her and looking around every corner for her, and we're glad that she's doing all the right things, and we don't want to see anything horrific happen to her. This movie perfectly flips that script. Because after her situation goes from bad to worse, and we're only left to assume what most likely happened to her, we are then introduced to a different character. He's the guy that owns this Airbnb, a rich, snotty actor who actually has been accused by a co-star of date rape, which we find out that he did intentionally do and just keeps trying to justify it. We're being set up to really not like this guy, to really despise this guy in every way, shape, and form. In fact, he's such a creep and such the polar opposite of the first person that we saw in this house that when he discovers the creepy stairways that leads into the pit of hell in the torture porn room, he's not frightened, he's not scared, he doesn't even seem bothered. But he's amazed to see how much square footage the place has that he didn't know about, how much more money he could potentially make. And the brilliance of the filmmaking here is our attitude as the audience does a complete 180. And we're not so worried about what's going to happen to this guy. In fact, we can't wait for it to happen. And this is the kind of magic I like to see come out of horror movies once in a while, where it can completely flip the script and your feelings can go a completely different way while still being scary all the while.
Is this something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry here with this week's movie review. I tortured myself sitting through 2022's The Overnight. Meet David and Jesse, two Gen Zers on a romantic getaway where David has a secret agenda to propose. If only Jesse can stop posting their lives on social media long enough for that to happen. Trying to appease his narcissistic girlfriend, David suggests they go antiquing out of the blue when they're already behind schedule. There, they encounter a weird doll that keeps reappearing throughout the movie for no explainable reason, an unnerving encounter with a supposed fan, and only to end up with a flat tire, with no spare. Did I mention on a road trip? They limp their way to the Monroe Manor, a seemingly historic hotel that has a weird assortment of guests, employees, and an oddball owner to boot. It's a scattered attempt at a demon resurrection with several ripoffs of actually good horror movies such as The Shining and The Exorcist. This director tries desperately to make it a cerebral movie and fails miserably. Predictable jump scares, predictable ending, all-around disaster of a movie. It's always never a good sign when I'm rooting for the main characters to be murdered right off the bat. I actually felt like I lost IQ points sitting through this snore fest, and I feel I'm being generous giving it a 1 star. Skip this one. You'd be more entertained watching paint dry.
Another great review of the not so great from Scary Larry. Thanks, Scary. Until next time, stay on the road, keep clear of the moors, and beware the moon. But most of all, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon.
This is a Macabre Theater production.